I was driving home. I couldn't stop past the place that sold alcohol without picking it up. I get home. My husband's my best friend, won't talk to me anymore. My daughter's done. No one will pick up the phone. Middle of the night. I'm by myself. No one to call but God. So I finally just surrendered and asked him to help. Feelings are like children. You can't let them drive the car and you cannot put them in the trunk.
But that's the thing. Like, a lot of people don't know what their dream is. They just think they're going along with the motions. And a lot of people think it's fame, money, attention.
We had all the other things. That's why when I hit alcoholism, I thought the keys that I had used to unlock all the other problems would work, and it didn't. I was so blissfully unaware that it was like, oh, there's an alcoholic key. You didn't equip me with this one. Really. And that's why the self-reflection. I was running from either my addiction, my brokenness inside, trying to heal this thing. I was running away from something and overcompensating in that direction. So that's usually, so ego is not necessarily a good thing when we talk about it.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the True Form podcast. Before we dive into today's episode, I just want to thank the legends at Lumaflex for sponsoring today's episode. I'm actually blown away how this little red light therapy device is dramatically improving my health, recovery, vitality. Later on in the episode, I'll tell you how I've been using it and why you should think about getting one yourself. But first, we'll dive into today's conversation to help us, you and me, find our true form. But let's jump straight into it. Heather, I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, especially our time change difference.
Always say it's the best way to start the day, these conversations.
Yes, absolutely.
I did want to start with addiction. I did see some of your content and it was very interesting and a little bit triggering for even myself about addiction.
Yes.
And so when the word addiction comes up, what's the first thing you think of?
It has a totally different meaning for me now because I'm in recovery of addiction. But I've seen it in so many different ways. So really, and I've had to work with people who are addicts and or just have an addiction they're working through. And usually it's something that is controlling you instead of you controlling it. And that's that threshold of, is what's leading whom in the whole situation? Is it controlling you or are you controlling it? So that's usually the main addiction mechanism to look at.
How do we figure that out? Like the video I was watching, you were talking about, like you said, addictions can influence what you're doing. But sometimes, as we we're just talking about, exercise can be addictive, but is it good? Is it bad? So are there good and bad addictions to have?
Yes. Again, where the threshold becomes extreme. And I've gotten very good personally in figuring out where that threshold is. Because when it's not one addiction to be something else. And so for me as an addict, a recovering addict, it's same root, different branch. But as humans, there's always everyone needs some kind of coping mechanism. So working out, again, my husband will call me out on it. Are you at the gym for 3 hours a day or are you just going and doing like 45 minutes, like getting up at 4:45 versus 6 a.m.? Like, how much is it consuming your life? And so when I work with clients or help people really identify if they're addicted to something, we can deal with the addict part later, is I usually have them walk through a week of their life and basically take a self-inventory. Where are you spending your time? There's no holds barred, like whatever it is. Don't even lie. Just be honest about where everything is. And then we look at where their time is being spent and we look at the thing that's the most, whether it's food, grocery shopping, like whatever the thing that's so extreme. And then we take a week and I say, all right, now try without it for a week. How did that feel? And then you can really gauge how much is controlling your life or not and where it needs to be, whether it's in extreme, it's a detox, whether, where it kind of lands, whether they can make it in one day and then they're done, then they have it's a much bigger problem. So that's usually how I walk someone through finding out what that threshold is.
Well, I definitely can't go a week without training. I miss a couple of workouts and then I feel itchy and I need to get into the gym again.
Yeah. But if you're there, you do it for a living. So it's a little, and I used to do it for a living when we owned an MMA gym. And so there is, there's a part where it's your job. And then there's a part where you're doing it 12 hours a day. Because I work out 6 days a week. That's an essential part of my wellness. That's my serotonin, my antidepressant. But again, if I find myself there, I'm not a fitness trainer for a living anymore. So if I'm there more than I'm in the office and it's not my outfit, I got to check myself. So that's where it's not always a one size fits all.
Yeah, and that's sort of what I wanted to touch on. Like, obviously, I love what I do. Like, I love exercising, but I also love coaching people. So, like I said, I spend a lot of time in the gym, and as
Yeah.
you have in the past as well.
Mhm.
So, at what point does it become something bad? Right? I've been trying to figure this out for myself. Like, everybody's like, you got to work, 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 but then also take time away and have a break and recharge and do that side of thing. Like, look after yourself away from your addiction, I guess you could say. So, at what point should I stop, reflect, and then go, okay, well, maybe this is too much?
Well, what's the point at which you unplug? Because even where I know probably a better thing is just to reflect where I was at in that same industry is when I came home, did I turn it off? Was there a point at which I stopped emailing clients, scheduling new appointments? When am I doing the family thing? When am I doing my personal stuff? And when am I continuing working? And am I able to turn that off? Can you turn your phone off? Do you have a work phone and a personal phone where you can kind of segment out your personal life? How often are you taking a vacation? Because, like I said, you're in the gym. Like, it's one thing when you're training trainers, but or coaching people. Where are you turning that off and taking care of yourself? The achievement addiction is very real, where you get more clients, you get more money, you get more gains, you get more testimonies, and so it's a very affirming process that is very addicting in itself. So there you
Mm.
go. Now you're cross addicted. The training and achievement didn't work. So, but yeah, I find when it becomes unmanageable, that those other things in your life, are you compromising other healthy things in your life because these things are coming in front of it? And that's where I did in my own life, where I put work in front of spending enough time with my daughter. Like, a lot of things fell to the wayside because I just put too many of what seemed to be good in front of everything else. It became
Mm.
unmanageable.
It's crazy how these little red lights on your skin can have such a positive impact on your overall health and wellness. I'm actually disappointed in myself for taking so long to get into red light therapy. But the industry is just full of shitty products. Like, super expensive lights that you stick on your skin and you hope they work, but you don't actually know if they do. And I've been using the Body Pro from Lumaflex for quite a few weeks now, and it's blown my mind how you can actually feel the effects of the light. I've been struggling with plantar fasciitis for the last 8 months. It's driving me insane. And I was almost at the point where I was going to go down surgery, PRP, cortisone shots, just to get rid of the pain so I could do the exercises I needed to fix the ankle. That's the worst part about some sort of niggle or injury. Like, you're always in pain and you don't want to do those exercises to fix it. And that's when you end up doing surgery, stuff like that, very invasive things to try and get rid of that pain. After I was using this, did about 4 rounds each day for about 3 days. And after the third day, on the fourth day, the pain was gone. It was crazy. And now I can do the exercises on my ankle to improve the plantar fasciitis, and it's getting better. I actually went for a run the other day. Crazy. First run, wasn't very far, don't stress. First run in about 8 months without pain as well. As John goes over in this episode, there's so many use cases for your body and red light therapy. It's been amazing to see the results, and I'm keen to share them all with you. But if you want to get your own Lumaflex, you can use the code TRUEFORM at checkout to get a massive 10% off your first order. I'm just thinking in reverse. So I'd have a lot of clients that would almost not, I'm using exercise obviously because I know it so well, but let's say I want somebody to be more addicted to exercise, but they're addicted to, say, like, social media is the worst. Like, a lot of my
Mhm.
clients have issues sleeping, and a lot of the time they're taking their phones into the bedroom, they sit there scrolling on their phone for an hour or even more before they go to bed or fall asleep. So how do I get them away from that addiction? Like, we know that phones are just addictive and it's
Mhm.
hard to put them down.
Yeah.
So how do we break that off and get them to start focusing on something a little bit more for their health?
I would say a good challenge.
Mm.
Like, say, I'll give you an extra session or whatever it is that you can incentivize them with. Because I've taught seventh graders, humans in general. When you give them something constructive to work towards, they're more likely to respond to it than anything negative. So if you say, all right, I want you, like, even accountability, I want you to turn off your phone. Even if you can't sleep at night, then stare at the wall, turn on the TV, do something else, read a book. You know what I mean? Turn off the phone. And if you can manage to do this, then after a week, then I'll give you an extra half hour session or something else, like whatever, it is that you can offer as an incentive. And then
Mm,
now they have the time that they're sleeping better. And hopefully they feel the difference because now that they're resting, gains don't happen if you don't get enough sleep. So that's probably
yeah.
why they're not feeling the benefit of the working out is because they're not sleeping enough. So it's hard to get into that gear when you're not resting like you're supposed to. So they're just showing up for the sake of showing up and ticking the box, but they're not gaining all the health benefits. So that would be one suggestion.
Yeah, it's like what you just said before about me, like when you're coaching, it's like you start getting more clients, you get more money, you get more testimonies. You've got to get that incentive away from the phone, which is hard sometimes, that's for sure.
Yeah. But you giving them something that would be equally, and even I would say small goals, something tangible so they don't give up and go, oh my gosh, I can't do that for a whole week. 3 nights. You know, it's something, even though your client's the best. So if you have someone who might be extreme, like, yeah, I'll show you, I can do that for 7 days. And the other ones are like, whatever, you give them, 2 days, to do that. And then do a reset. And just that way they can kind of see what else is there. And like I said, giving them alternatives of, okay, so if you can't sleep, try reading a book. Cause even my daughter who's like ADHD, she has a real hard time falling asleep. Her problem is she'll read and then she's super interested in what she's reading. I can't fall asleep. But at least not scrolling her phone, sending me reels all night. I'm like, how long have you been up? And just,
Yeah,
redirecting.
I've got one client that started crochet and then like, which was great, but then now she stays up to 1 or 2 AM trying to
Yeah.
finish off her and I'm like, "Oh,
One
okay."
more.
Yeah.
All humans.
Let's uh, it's an interesting job, that's for sure. I love it.
Oh, definitely.
Um,
Yeah.
but let's dive into your story. I'd love you to go back however long you think is necessary, but like your resilience as well. Like you've obviously gone through addiction yourself, but you've built a business, failed, and then you're back again, and you're absolutely killing it now. So I'd love to hear about your journey.
Yeah. Um, my parents were actually teenagers when they had me. So I grew up in a broken home right out the gate. They actually got married, but they were teenagers, so that didn't last. And then my dad got custody of me, and again, moving around a lot. Finally moved in with my grandparents. He marries the girl next door, and she's only 14 years older than me. She's pregnant down there. I'm like, Dad, really? Can you make it like once? And funny enough, we're at full circle. He met someone in Australia on Facebook, married her, but now he's back in Florida now here. So he's got his own sticky story, but that's the story of the addict. Um, and my stepmother, everyone's got their own problems, but she was stepmom, Cinderella story, just verbal abuse. It really was very toxic, broken home environment. And I was second mom. My brothers were 5 and 10 years younger than me, half brothers. And by high school, I got very depressed. And also growing up in this kind of environment, most of us are you're in a broken environment. You have to present a version that doesn't, clue people in of what's going on at home. So you have to
Mm,
present a facade, a version of yourself, a perfect person, so no one gets waned and finds out what's going on the inside. So I got very good at presenting the version I wanted you to see and then protected the person on the inside so I couldn't get hurt. And by my freshman year, I had a really good best friend who got a little too close. And my stepmother said, absolutely not, cuts her out of my life. And my first drug of choice, food.
mm,
So I went on the seafood diet and gained at least 40 pounds from my freshman to sophomore year. And this is the 90s. I was in a school in California where there were girls on the covers of my magazine. So
mm,
imagine going back, like, just not a fun environment. And so I pretty much bootstrapped my way through survival mode my whole life. And even though I was super depressed and at a certain point suicidal, even in high school, the light was so much closer to graduate and get out than it was to do something that drastic. Plus, I was like the neighborhood babysitter. Talk about entrepreneurship. My parents own their own business. I basically been self-employed since I was 11. So it's in my blood. And I'm like, now for my family, I was like, oh, my teachers and the kids I babysit, I won't do that to them. So I just focused on getting good grades and getting into college. And my stepmother was from New York, so we ended up moving cross country. I got into colleges in California, New York. And by the time we moved out there, I was done being treated the way I was being treated, left for college, no driver's license, no car. in a whole new state at 17, college, homeless, like sucks. you, you bounce from dorm to dorm, you don't have a home. And so that survival mode and really trying to figure things out really was even more ingrained. And I found alcohol because I was immature. My parents were so controlling. My dad had his own problems, but they were swept under the rug. I found the first solo cup, my first, hey, let's go to a party. I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. So I had the normal college drinking experience for the most part. That seems crazy because your peers are doing it. And when college stopped, my crazy behavior did not. I met my husband in that process. We started dating my sophomore year of college. We're still together now, almost 30 years. And he is an entrepreneur teaching MMA, starting one of the schools like on the inception, like it had just started in 93. He opened a school in 97. So this is when no one knew what Brazilian Jiu Jitsu was, all of these things. It was just the forefront of the first wave of all this. You couldn't even legally fight and compete in New York with MMA at the time.
Wow.
It was crazy. It's like a whirlwind. Um, and so I helped him with the business and I started teaching. I put down the drink long enough to have my daughter, but picked it right back up. And in the MMA or in any kind of self-defense environment, we had a lot of law enforcement. And it was a very high enabling environment where if I got pulled over, I had a whole like folder of how many calls do you want to get or let Heather go. And so I did not get in the trouble I should have. And there were a lot of crazy stories where definitely that should have been the case. But between the enabling and I was successful despite how much I was drinking is really what it came down to. And we finally sold part of the business and moved to Florida, semi-retired in my early 30s. And from homeless to like semi-retired, it was like we're literally living the dream. And I'm super depressed. I'm like, I literally have everything I could have imagined, house with an, pool and, paradise. And I'm depressed and suicidal. Got in a car accident, someone rear-ended me, not drinking related at all, luckily, surprisingly, and had an injury. So all of everything that I had worked towards, I was Mrs. New York. I got my master's degree, built a business. So all these titles that I was chasing to validate myself were taken away. And that's where the drinking really spiraled and accelerated. And we found a church because we're like, well, we need community. My husband's a recovering Catholic. I didn't grow up with anything really significant. And met the women who were sober there who were happy about it and sharing it. I'm like, you don't say that out loud, first of all. It's like, well, you're not happy about it. And third of all, you don't say that out loud. Like, we don't talk about these things. We keep things on the road. But it was those women who were so warm and welcoming that brought me to my first meetings. The one would become my first sponsor. But it would take a year and a half before my final bottom hit because I thought I was unique, that I wasn't one of them. I'm like, no, I don't think so. But the behavior just got so out of control that by April 30th of 2014, I hit my bottom. I was driving home. I couldn't stop past the place that sold alcohol without picking it up. I get home. My husband's my best friend, won't talk to me anymore. My daughter's done. No one will pick up the phone. Middle of the night. I'm by myself. No one to call but God. So I finally just surrendered and asked him to help. And that's the point at which the compulsion to drink was lifted. However, in that process, that's where we lost the business because I sent a very mean, the worst email I probably could have sent, hung over to our shareholder, and it all came crashing down. And I should still be living off of those residuals, to say the least. But I think growing up through all of that survival mode, knowing there was always something inside of me that said that I could do it against all odds, that I pushed me through all of these things. And so once I had to start literally all over again, that's what I did. I was like, all right, whatever I've got to do this sober, then that's what I have to do because these things are just too important to me. I don't lose what I still have left. And luckily I didn't lose my marriage, my husband, my daughter, my house, like so many more. I mean, a business, fine, you can rebuild a business, but there are some things you just can't get back. And I was on the cusp of that. So yeah, I mean, the resilience of my childhood definitely set me up for, I don't know, maybe it's the addiction of not telling me what not to do that I'm like, I'll prove you wrong. Is my resilience. But I'm a fighter. So like that's just who I am. Knock me down, fine. I'll get back up. Like I'll learn from it.
It comes through. Right. Thank you for sharing that. That's a couple of different directions I want to go with that. There's so many follow-up questions. Just before we dive into all that, nature and nurture. Like you said, your dad had a few addiction issues. Do you think it was, uh, I guess some would say in your DNA, or do you think it was just in that environment that you were brought up in? It was certain traits or habits that were instilled from your father?
A little bit of both. Both of my parents, I later found out that that addiction gene is usually genetic. When yeah, this is a joke for your people. If you shake a tree of alcohol, a family tree of alcoholics, a bunch of empty bottles will fall out. So, and I grew up, it was swept under the rug. I didn't know my dad was drinking because it wasn't in the house. He would be out working and come home. I thought he was just sick throwing up, not that he was drunk. Because I was in my own survival mode. I just kind of like numbed out just to survive. So I really wasn't aware until now that we're both adults and sober. I was like, oh, that's what happened there. The
Mm.
different lights start coming on as to what the whole adult situation was going on versus my version as a kid. Um, so in my experience in being in the rooms of recovery, it's usually it tends to be genetic. Um, it's kind of wired into us. Not to say that someone can't kick that into gear and be an addict, but it's more 9 times out of 10, it's kind of already in your DNA to begin with. Because I didn't see it that way growing up, and I still very much fell into the trap without even realizing it.
Yeah, well, I think you're proof of that. That yeah, it might be in your DNA, but you can definitely kick it and get over it. Like not
Yeah.
over it, but beat it for sure.
hmm
Like, you said that you didn't know at the time, but you how old and what point you realized that your dad was drinking to excess?
What I was out of the house for a really long time.
Mm,
Like I knew he had a coin. I didn't understand it all. Like I thought it was a punishment. So, but I didn't understand alcohol. My parents didn't drink around me. Like it wasn't our normal lifestyle. And so it didn't occur to me that that was the issue. And I found out, gosh, how old was I? My daughter had already been born. This was crazy. So my dad got divorced from my stepmom and then starts dating my biological mom again. That was very strange. Um, and that was the point at which I realized he was an alcoholic. Actually, both of them are,
mm.
one's in recovery, the other was still in denial. And so that was that experience. I was like, oh, but I had my own addiction, so I didn't. I later concede that that's where that was. But
The
ooh,
reason I
yeah, that,
ask that because a lot of the time when people are trying to get over trauma or addictions, like therapy, it's always look at the past and see what shaped the future. So do you think then, like coming to the realization that oh yeah, my family did drink, was that helpful in a way of helping you get over it or get through your addiction?
they were independent from me because I was on my own path, and I think for me, helpfully, first of all, let me forgive them because they were kids just raising kids. They did the best with what they had. Um, and I wasn't fully aware of the level of addiction until I was into recovery myself. And I'd already been sober. So looking at my past, I was more my own past of what led me into drinking and learning how to let it go, which was fully independent of them. But most people, I think sometimes it can be a bit of a crutch and an excuse to stay in it because it's
Mm,
just how I'm wired. Like there's some song from Jelly Roll, Your Bloodline. Like it's you hear the song. A certain songs hit now that I'm in recovery, but you don't have to be what's in your blood, which is really interesting. You can break those cycles, and so I mean, I knew there were toxic cycles. I knew of all the other ones. Teenage pregnancy, all the other. We had all the other things. That's why when I hit alcoholism, I thought the keys that I had used to unlock all the other problems would work, and it didn't. I was so blissfully unaware that was like, oh, there's an alcoholic key. You didn't equip me with this one. So, yeah.
yeah, I'm glad you said that because yeah, it can be one of those things where you learn about your past and it's almost like you said, almost identify as it even more in a
hmm
way, which or you
Yeah.
can use it to create stories that, "Oh, that's why I'm doing this and that's okay." You did say when you joined the church and you were trying to get help, you didn't really join in because you're like, "Oh, I'm not one of those people.
hmm
I don't identify as like a non-alcoholic or whatever you want to insert." And it can be the same with exercise. I find it all the time. People will over-exercise to the point where it's very damaging for their health and like, "No, no, I'm not one of those people. I'm healthy. I've got control of it and I
hmm
don't need any help." So, like I'd love you to touch on that point there because a lot of people, like I said, will tell themselves stories and tell them
Hmm.
it's okay. But yeah, they sort of need to join in with the crowd and that community so they can heal or get over the addiction, whatever they're trying to do.
Yeah. And I can totally speak into this too, because running an MMA gym, the people that would get addicted to it, I'm like, go home to your wife. Stop
Yeah.
buying $300 G's. Like, knock it off. And so I saw that they're like, this is like our church. I'm like, that doesn't sound right. Your MMA gym should not be. This is not right. So it's hilarious now that flip side we run
Yeah.
a church, which is highly ironic in our lives. Um, but yeah, it's a really easy trap to get into, working up to an extreme. You see bodybuilders that are just they're too big. Their body doesn't know the difference between muscle and fat. And, so it's almost, unfortunately, some of those situations, they almost have to hit a different bottom in that and feel the extreme and why it doesn't work in order to come back from it. And
Mm.
some people can, it depends. It's almost personally based. But for me, when I went in there, I was comparing because I didn't want to be there. I'm like, oh, great. Now the scarlet letter of alcoholic on me, wonderful. And at the time, I didn't realize how empowering it would be to own my own story and own my own addiction instead of being ashamed of it. And I think most of us are running from some level of shame or version of ourselves, and the power in owning it, as terrifying as it is, of owning your own truth of who you are and what your shortcomings are, actually become a superpower. And so I think when people can kind of it's an interesting way to help them tap into that, because if there's an extreme, they're running from something. So it's just kind of working under, as a coach, like, how are things at home? How's your mom? Like, I've had that happen with people. I'm like, oh, like some old man was so mean to me at church. Like, we started the church. There was a lot of like super boomers. And he was just mean to me all the time. And I'm like, man, what is this guy's deal? He had a homebound wife. He came and retired, and she ended up having a stroke. And he did like her main caregiver. I was like, I'd be kind of mad too. So I killed him with kindness. But I try and find where if there's something extreme going on, there's something that's not the problem. There's something else behind it. And when you can get under that, that's where you can find the healing and kind of, you know, dose down like the extremes that they're putting in place of what they don't want to face or deal with.
Mm. If you could go back and give yourself advice in those first couple of gatherings, like what would you say to be more accepting of the help?
Um, you're not that important. you, like you just just listen. And I was always so good. I used to be a history major. Of listening to other people, did not make the same mistakes as them. And I probably go back and tell myself, you need to do the same. Like, instead of, because once I stopped comparing and I learned how to identify and see myself in their stories, then I realized, oh, okay. And they're happy. I'm like, why did, their lives are so much better now that they're not drinking. Why am I holding on to something that's literally killing me? And that's part of the addiction process and the degradation of your brain is the mental illness of it. But yeah, I would let myself know. But also, it took what it takes. So I don't know if me going back to myself would have
Yeah.
changed anything. Um, Other, maybe, but I don't know if I would have listened to me at that point. I was really mad.
uh,
What to do? Even
you,
me.
yeah. I always say that. Like, it's a good question to ask, but also at the same time, I wouldn't even listen to myself 5 or 10 years
Yeah.
ago. you you touched on something that you just sort of skipped over it, but it's almost like a superpower that you have. Like you said, when that old man was angry at you, you didn't. A lot of time when somebody gets angry at you, you just get angry back and you just react in the same emotion. But you sort of took the time and you said you just gave him a lot of love and care instead of anger. And then you found it, like you took the time to ask a question, be curious, and found out what actually happened. Like that right there is definitely a superpower that not a lot of people use these days. They just react. Is that always been something you've done, or is that just something you learnt
I
recently?
learned in recovery because hurt people, we have so many bumper sticker sayings. It's endless. Like, there should be an encyclopedia of them, um, to say the least. But hurt people. And so, what, at least as an alcoholic, what I would do is when someone got mad at me, I would use that as a reason to drink.
Mm.
And I never really needed one, but it would be an excuse. Someone got mad at me. I'm mad at them now, so I'm going to go drink it, drink out. And so what I learned in this is that hurt people because most of us come from broken homes in the rooms of recovery. That I'm not the reason they're mad, and that we learn that. I'm like, okay, well, what is the reason that they're mad? I'm just the trigger. I'm not the reason. I'm not the I'm just what they're shooting at. I'm not actually the problem. And so we learn a lot of that. At least I had really good mentors, just so many like really wonderful people around me to teach me these life lessons. And because my anger is going to bring me back to where I don't want to be. So it was self-preservation, but at the same time, it taught me so much grace about other people
Mm.
to not, like, if someone's in traffic going nuts, are they driving to the hospital because there's an emergency? Like, what is their issue? And that's none of my business. So it actually keeps you in and like you said, instead of reacting, responding, because high emotions become an addiction, and that's what us alcoholics will do. We put down the drink, and now we're addicted to anger, or we're addicted to another emotion that's just as an adrenaline rush, whether it's chaos or victim or poor me, and so you start thriving on those. So we learn how, if you're starting to get into that mode, then it's your mind looking to eventually get back to a drink or to an unhealthy addiction. And so we're taught to kind of reflect in those. And the Bible, love your neighbor, love your enemy. Those are some other, kind of in tandem with the whole thing. So putting both lessons together, I was like, let me just find out why he's mad, because I'm not the reason. I didn't do anything to him. And that's the other thing too. Did I do something? That's the other part of the
Mm.
crowd. Did I do something that would have caused this person to be mad at me? And how many of us reflect like that? Like, that's what we do in recovery too. Did I cause this problem to begin with? Probably. Maybe not. Apologize anyway. And then, put yourself in the other person's shoes, and much more peaceful living. But when you like the extremes, it's a lot more difficult.
Yeah, and 100% agree. A way more it's way more peaceful living like that than also trying to match everybody else's energy and anger or disappointment or whatever it may be. You said you had an encyclopedia of bumper stickers in that topic. Any other, like, before we move on,
Oh,
is there any others?
oh, there's so
And
many. Yet you're eligible too. Um, they don't only come up in conversation. Like the rearview mirror is smaller for a reason. Don't stare at it; you'll crash. Uh, this is one of my favorites. One of my other sponsors. Feelings are like children, and you can take this all the way to the bank. Feelings are like children. You can't let them drive the car, and you cannot put them in the trunk. It's like,
so good.
I could
Yeah.
go on for days. There's probably too many. But usually, for whatever situation, there's like, we got something, because we're people of extremes. So you need something quick and easy to digest, to like
Mm.
stop, like stop the cycle of insanity.
that I love that. That was so good.
Yeah,
That
I
yeah,
could
you
sell
can't.
T-shirts. I'd be like, what?
Yeah.
Your kids in the trunk.
Uh,
Oh.
all right, let's change directions a little bit. When I sent you the questionnaire to come on the podcast, one of the questions is, what topic do you want to talk about? And you sent back a sentence. It was very intriguing, and I'd love to know where you want to go with this. So when I asked what you want to talk about, you said learning how to develop a healthy balance between body, business, and performing at your peak. Where would you go with that?
That is, and especially dealing with high performing or entrepreneurs, is learning how to balance. And you were talking about this, like, where do you put in yourself? Because one thing I learned, so you would think, why would you be so grateful to lose a business? And like, it was really life changing. But when I got to the end of, basically Oz, the end of the yellow brick road, and this beautiful, what I thought was the end glory of everything, there was nothing me left at the end of it. I lost myself in the process, and luckily young enough I can turn it back around. Um, but finding the balance, and that's the thing in recovery as well. My life depends on balance. And what was so magical about being in recovery, and even my own coach, when I have learned to not be in extremes. I was addicted to weight loss competitions for a while. I'm like, what is the matter with me? Um, and learning how to balance mental, physical, and emotional parts of your body, then you can be more efficient at your job. Like we were talking about your client, getting enough sleep, knowing when to take a vacation, knowing when to turn things off. And when you finally put that balance of all those three things in place, your body is better. Now you're happier, and any kind of issues usually kind of subside because you don't have the same inflammation. Any issues you have generally start to become way more manageable because I still have nerve entrapment and other issues from my accident, but I can still get on. My husband jokes, we get on the leg press and I can do like almost 900 pounds, which is more than my husband. It's hilarious. Um, but I know what I can do now because I have more things in balance. I'm also not doing them to an extreme. And so because my life has depended on the balance that I thought was so almost like not cliche, but I, it didn't, I was like, I love extremes. Like, yeah, it felt so good to always be doing something so fast. And, uh, but when I'm working with clients, when we can bring all those levels in and balance everything in their lives, and you're actually living life. Because what are we here for? You have a business, you're making money, but then you don't give yourself enough time to enjoy it. Or you get married and then you're not taking care of yourself or whatever the case is. So they're all so intertwined. And so when you finally put the oxygen mask on yourself, not to an extreme, but enough to kind of self-reflect, you find the magic in all the different areas of your life coming together almost effortlessly once you put them all into place. And it's a long process. This isn't a quick fix, as seen on TV, guaranteed situation. I've been at it for 12 years, which is why I'm so passionate to help shorten that road for people, for women now, because for me I'm like, it took me 12 years. I'd like this to only take you a miniature amount of time because that was a lot of self inventory reflection to figure this out in hindsight. So yeah,
Mm.
that's why it's so important to me.
Let's go back to the start there. So, like you said, you sold the business, you had more money, you were living the dream. But that's the thing, like a lot of people don't know what their dream is. They just think they're going along with the motions. And a lot of people think it's fame, money,
Hmm.
attention. And then you get it and you're like, So, and like I said at the start, I was watching one of your videos on this topic and it was very triggering for me. So I've been doing a lot of work myself, trying to make sure that I am living the life. Like, that's what this podcast is all about, helping people find their true form and living a life true to them. So I really need to make sure I'm doing that. Otherwise, I'm not really doing my job. So I do reflect on this a lot, but you're saying a few things there, even then, like I love working and I love doing things to the extreme. Like a new idea comes up, I'm like, all right, let's do it. And I'm just straight into it. And I was listening to your content. I was like, oh, do I do it too much? And it was just really good for me to stop and reflect and take the time to look forwards. Like, what am I actually building towards? Because I feel like a lot of people don't do that. So if you could go back to the start and say to people, like, before you even start working towards your goals, like, what should they be thinking about and what should they be doing?
Usually the best thing to do if someone's kind of lost in what their purpose is or whatever direction they want to go in something's off, I do the why test because that's what got me. That's when I figured I was addicted to weight loss competitions. I found some woman on in Ireland actually. It was great, and I'm like, I do a competition, lose the 20 pounds, look amazing, and then like go back to normal. And but finally, I got to one of my personal coaches I have now. She's amazing. I had to go through why, because something I knew was off, and I didn't know what it was. And so I had to ask the why and then another why and until I got to that point. And so that's usually what I work with my clients is they don't necessarily know what it is. You ask why enough times, it's like a little kid. But why? But why? But why? You even get annoyed
Yeah.
with yourself. Eventually, it presents itself. What is that? And that whatever they're wrestling with, whatever is not connected, it starts to come to the surface. So even if a purpose isn't necessarily there, the underlying issue, the thing that's been just underneath the surface that they may not have wanted to look at comes to the surface. And then once you dissect that, then you can start moving toward what that looks like. But usually that kind of stuff, like almost like a doorstop in your soul. Like once you figure out where that is, then you can move forward.
Mm. Yeah, I 100% agree. Asking why. And a lot of people don't ask why. They just do
Mm-mm.
things. They're just
Because
going
I don't know,
along. Yeah.
I like it. It feels good. Why
Yeah.
not? Oh, that's why. Why not?
And
Backfire.
and that's pretty much what we've been talking about, isn't it? Like
Mhm.
feelings versus stopping and asking why.
Yeah.
But sometimes, obviously, men and women can be different in this scenario. Ego can take over, and that feeling and why can get very mixed. So, is
Uh-huh.
any advice on just like high performers are the same? Like any high performer, like the ego can just sort of influence you. Yeah, this is why you're doing it. You should be doing it this.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
any thoughts or
I
strategies on
I joke.
understanding
I
that?
have enough ego for me and my husband. He has all no ego. It's like I took it all. I always joke I have a male sized ego. And I realized it an alcoholic sized ego, but it was definitely I was in my lane. Like I don't know. Um, but yeah, it definitely is very difficult to dissect. But even under ego, you're hiding from, or so you're trying to run away from something towards where your ego is trying to fill that void in. So I still have an ego, but I can catch myself now when my ego is leading. I'm like, is this about me, or is this like here? But yeah, no, I would say it's more human than anything else because I've lived it myself. Like my husband's like, I don't care about that. I'm not competitive. And I'm like, oh, I can't deal. So, I mean, so I think it's
Mm,
like I said, it's high performers, it's personality, and really, and that's where the self reflection. I was running from either my addiction, my brokenness inside, trying to heal this thing. I was running away from something and overcompensating in that direction. So that's usually so ego's not necessarily a good thing when we talk
mm.
about it. Like it's in that vein.
Yeah, and it can be. I guess this is what I've been struggling with a little bit as well, like understanding my ego, making sure that it's not driving me. But then if I haven't got anything driving me, then what am I working towards?
Hmm. What
Mm.
are you working towards?
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like that's what I've done
Yeah,
a lot of work on that because like once you remove that ego, then you're like, oh well, who am I? Like what life do I actually want, and what am I doing this for?
yeah. And that's
Mm,
really when we're working with clients, that's like the caviar. That's really what you want them to figure out because that's when you can really start readjusting everything. Because obviously, as business owners, like we're wired totally differently. And the more leads you get, the more clients, it naturally feels good. But same thing where I've lost a lot, I've gained a lot, I've lost a lot, and it has really humbled me to where an idea of what I would have wanted, like it's for, just argument's sake, a giant house. I would never want a mansion because I know the maintenance that goes behind it. But if that was my main goal, but then I have another thing, and that's where I realized in my own personal journey when I keep running towards things, I'm not happy. When I'm doing it for the sake of, especially now in an industry where I'm helping people transform their lives, the byproduct is money, but the purpose is totally different.
mm,
And that's where it takes my ego out of it because I've had to show I do a lot of it just on ministry side. Like anyone who goes to my church, I just make sure I don't. There are a lot of people I do this work just pro bono, and that keeps me very humbled because yes, it's awesome to be able to get paid for this, but my purpose is really to help women find that and really be the best versions of themselves. And it takes the ego out of it. And like, okay, some things would be nice, and this is the main question. It would be really nice to have, and I've had this, a private chef again. Hallelujah. That would be amazing for my meal prep again. I'm tired of cooking for myself. You do my macros. I'm over it. And I used to have them. It was amazing. Like uh, flying on really good flights, like all the different fun things that make life fun. But I got to the point where if I have it or not, it doesn't change who I am. It's just a bonus along the way. And
mm,
that's where really that's where that changed considerably of what I'm doing it for. Yes, the numbers are fantastic. That's a great byproduct, but really at the end of the day, it's awesome to have those things and I've had them. I've tasted them, but I think I'm more appreciative of them at this point. And I've learned it won't make or break my life, whether it'll be nicer, but I'm not going to lose sleep over not getting a private chef again at the moment,
mm.
because I love
And
it.
I I love that, and that's exactly what I was talking about, like getting to the point where you're driven by passion rather than the ego and the numbers, fame, money,
Hmm.
whatever you want to put in there. You've said it took you 12 years to figure this all out, and you're trying to shorten that for your clients. Uh, yes, asking why several times until you actually get to the real answer. Any other things we can be doing to shorten that period?
Yeah. Honestly, like I said in the beginning before, it's a time audit inventory and all the things that I've done in life. My husband going through pastoral school, he had to go to seminary, and they would say where your paycheck, like where your checkbook, is super old school, your calendar, and will tell you where everything's going. They're like
Mm,
wherever your attention goes, your everything flows. Um, so for most people, before they realize what they even need to change, is a very easy step before you can start rearranging your life is looking at what your life looks like in real life. And picking up tricks like even I don't know if you've heard Dan Martell's book, Buy Back Your Time. So you learn how to delegate and buy back your time. What things can you give to other people? Just because you can do everything doesn't mean you have to do everything, especially as moms. Oh my gosh. Like how many bags I want to do everything myself. Like I got it. Don't help me. I'm superwoman until everything falls apart. Um, so same type of thing, like where you can live your life and learn how to delegate those types of things. And so that's a really important thing in that you find that in that inventory. How much time are you cooking? Can you meal prep for 2 hours on a Sunday? Because I love it now. I cook. My husband's like, "You're meal prepping." Stop him again. I cook for the same like for 7 days, and now they're in my fridge. I get home, I can microwave it, and then sit on the couch for an hour. So, like it's beautiful times that I get back as a result. So, whatever you want your life to look at, like if it's not what you want it to be, that's the key to starting and identifying what that is to actually change.
A bunch of my clients are now using these amazing little red light therapy devices from the legends at Lumaflex. And it's awesome to see the effects with my own eyes. I've been telling everybody how these things just improve your overall health and wellness, but your recovery as well. I've even had one client use it as a part of her recovery protocol after getting PRP in her elbow. And a physio cannot believe how fast the pain went away, and she can start doing the exercises she needs to strengthen up that elbow. Other clients just love it after a hard session. Like we do a big leg session, they use it on their leg, couple of rounds, and they know the next day that they can still get up out of the chair, which is, we all know that feeling. So it's good to have that the next day. But you can use literally because of the design. Like I had the owner, the founder, the CEO, John, on the podcast talking about this, but he didn't talk about the design. The design is absolutely amazing. Like he's put a lot of effort into it because you can literally put this on any body part. You see these little slithers, you get straps and you can put it on your shoulder, arm, back, head, sides, anywhere on your legs, anywhere you want, it can go. So you're going to get the benefits and it's going to help that body part recover. So if you want to check them out and learn a little bit more about red light therapy device, check out the link in the descriptions or scan this QR code. When you're ready to get your own one, make sure you use the code TRUEFORM at checkout to get 10% off your Lumaflex products. I love that. And it's, like you said, a lot of people don't even do that or wouldn't even know where their time or attention is being
Yeah.
like drawn out. Yeah, for sure. That
Where am I on my Instagram feed? You go out and you're like, I love this thought.
What was that book again?
Oh, Buy Back Your Time, Dan Martell.
Right. Definitely going to
So
check
he has
that
like
one out.
PAs and stuff. Yeah. So he does math on, and especially as business owners, okay, what do you get paid per hour? And then what is doing that job? Now you're paying like yourself that amount of time, like doing some of these simple tasks. And then it opens up so much more time for yourself. And then you spread the wealth and you have more time for freedom for yourself as well. And it's at every level. Like, can your spouse pick up this chore? Can you redivide responsibilities? Do you have a family member who loves to do laundry? Some people, my husband likes to do laundry. I do not. He does the laundry. So it's really learning how to reorganize and delegate things so you have more time to actually live life.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like a lot of people are using all these technology, like, you got vacuums that will vacuum your house, dishwasher, all this sort of thing, even getting somebody to do the washing for you. It's like you save all this time, but then they're adding more things in and they're just taking up more time. And by doing like stopping and taking inventory of your time, you can actually go, well, like I don't need to do this. I don't need to do this. And I'm just adding things in to fill like blank time. So
Yeah.
yeah, I love
Yeah.
that.
And so in human work, because it really, you realize where you can economize. And that's the thing as a business. Imagine like getting a full night of sleep and knowing, giving something that you like bookkeeping. And that's what I did for a lot of businesses on the back end. I was the administration because as someone on the front end, and that's what I did for my husband in our business, he needs the brain space to create the content, to do the instructionals, to do all of those things that, I mean, the best companies delegate out. I mean, they have like the most minuscule of jobs, although, all the way down to the bottom. Why don't we do that in our personal lives? And we kind of forget that it all applies. So especially having the time and mental energy to do the other things in our life. And sometimes it can just be nothing. It's okay to just sit for and do nothing, but then you take the guilt away knowing that all the things are getting done. And it might seem weird because now you're delegating out and I have to manage more people. But if they're really good at what they do, it takes very little management. And then if they don't do it, then you give it to someone else. But at least now it's not you having to juggle too much and then break down because, if you told one more towel, you're going to lose your mind. Your kid's like, I need this one more snack. It's like, ugh. I've even taught moms, like, teach your kids how to meal prep, like those little cute boxes. Give them the food, let them pack it. And now you don't have to pack their lunches anymore. And now they're proud of their work and they have their snacks that are already pre-prepped and they understand portion control. So 3 birds with 1 stone.
100%.
Yeah.
So we've asked why, we've made time.
Yep.
What could the third thing be?
Third thing, taking time off, learning when to take a vacation. That's so huge. Living the lives that we have lived in extremes, and even now in ministry, we don't really get a lot of weekends. So we go away every 8 weeks. We stop and just get away for every 8 weeks. Not everyone can do that. Maybe a long weekend, but finding time to stop and not feeling guilty about it. And that's the other part, especially in America, like we glorify like never using our vacation time. But what are you living for if you're just going to burn out at the end and not be able to enjoy it? So you can take all of your 6 days, in a little bit or all at the end is kind of what it ends up being. And so allowing yourself to be able to carve out more time to stop in and just enjoy is so essential.
How do you identify that? Should you just book it in and just do it automatically, or
that's what we come to do? Like we just got back from our vacation last week, and we're like, okay, when's our next one? Who's covering for us on Sunday? Who's doing this? Like it's already in the book. Like the next 2 or 3 are already kind of carved out, and so we already know. It might be 8 or 9, maybe 7. Sometimes it's a little off, but for the most part, we've gotten to that schedule of doing that, and it's been healthier boundaries that allows people to actually like show up and give them the chance to actually fill in that void. Miss you when you're gone. That helps as well. Oh, you do all of this? Geez, when are you coming back? So you get people appreciate you a little bit more too, and you kind of step away and let them feel that the difference in that void. That's it's interesting what happens.
That's probably one thing that I'm going to take away and start doing from this episode, because I get in the habit of, I'm in a growth period at the moment, just trying to grow this podcast. Again, chasing the numbers, but I also love this. I love these conversations. So it's very hard for me to step away. So I've almost convinced myself that I don't need a holiday, but I have got one booked in later on the year, but I'm like, I don't need to. I can just keep going. So, and you're the second guest that's actually does that, like just books it in. Like, doesn't matter what's happening, but it's just like that's when their holiday is and that's when they go.
Yeah.
So,
and the one thing that's beautiful about that, and because my husband and I both like creators, and when you step away, it actually creates more growth because you're not so close to your business. We used to do this even when we lived in New York and we were running our business. We were able to get away. You can look at everything because you're not in the grind of your daily routine. You can look at it from a bird's eye view, and you get so many new ideas. Like I have tons of new ideas. We're emailing ourselves. Like it's not that you stop working. You give yourself the time and allowance for the creativity to flow because you're not stuck in the grind. And so what you think is actually not helping you grow is counterintuitive, actually helps you grow even faster because you have that space and time to be able to, not do the normal work things, but come up with new ideas because your mind is now open to being able to do that. So it's actually, you can get addicted to vacations. My growth vacation, my content creation vacation.
But is it a bad addiction if you are on holidays or not?
Then it's not, well, if you let on to constant vacation, then that's the problem. But
Yeah.
again, balance. Like you have it scheduled out, it's in your budget. What can you do? And sometimes it can even just be a staycation. I find I will work if I'm home. I need to be
Mm.
away from my stuff. I'm, I know myself well enough now to put the things away. We're in Florida. We go to Disney World all the time. So I'm on, it's Pirates night right now. I can't help you with your problem. So, but even if it's just an Airbnb and even in the same town, just to change your environment and scenery. It doesn't have to be extreme. It doesn't have to be expensive. You know, just change your scenery for a little bit, just to unplug and have a different perspective. It actually is way more productive in the long run, I found.
100%. And I'm starting to practice that a little bit more. So
No.
let's wrap up.
Mhm.
I usually got a pick between two questions to wrap up, but I kind of want to know the answer to both. So I'm going to hit you with both. What gets you excited in the morning? Like what fires you up, wakes you up every morning and just drives you to do what you do?
The transformations that I see in people, um, I mean, the testimonies that I have gotten from doing this work and knowing everyone needs somebody, and if I can be that somebody for them, then there's nothing more priceless than that. And so that's just wonderful. And I have a wonderful family, so they drive me. What are we doing today? But yeah, those are my two main, get me out of bed fire starters.
Love that. If you could get every single person to do one thing every single day, and it has to be a practical thing where they actually have to take time and do it to help them live a long, healthy, happy life, what's one thing that you reckon everybody would impact everybody?
I I think realistically, what everyone can
Mm,
do is
mm.
take 15 minutes upon waking up and just be still. Don't turn on your phone. Just have a drink of water and just be still. Because everyone can do 15 minutes. We get 15-minute breaks. But like when you wake up, do what you need to do, but just find a spot. That's what I love. I love the first 15 minutes of my day because it's just quiet. It's just me and my thoughts. I can just kind of like relax, think, let everything kind of flow before the chaos of the world kicks in. I think everyone can do that. Even if you set your alarm back just an extra 15 minutes, that's tangible for everyone. Or your client, they just stay up through the 15. But yeah, I think that's something, because when you can start hearing that inner voice, you can start doing something with it. Because I think most of the time we're shutting our that inner voice up, and so it allows it to speak to and help answer those whys and the other things that people might be stuck in.
Mm, I love that. And 100% everybody can do that. And a lot of people are scared to do it because they don't want to sit there and listen to what their thoughts are telling them.
Hmm. I want to hear you. Exactly. Yeah.
Heather, I appreciate you coming on the podcast, sharing your stories. A lot of good insights and takeaways from this episode. So, like I said, I
Thanks for
appreciate your
having me.
time.
Yeah.
Where can people learn more about you and connect with you?
Yes, on my website, heathersimco.com. I've got my reset course. I've got a community of amazing women in there. You can apply for coaching, and all my handles. Luckily, I'm the only Heather Simco out there doing this. So Insta, TikTok, YouTube, it's all at heathersimco.com. So you can find me there in all those different areas. So that's it.
Perfect. I'll link them all in the show notes. Heather, thanks again.
Thank you.
What is up? Thanks for being here at the end of the episode. Obviously, you've enjoyed it and it's helped you find your true form. And I bet you know somebody that's going to help find their true form as well. So I'd appreciate it if you could copy this show link, send it to one friend or family member and say, hey, have a listen to this. It's going to help you find your true form. They'll probably have no idea what you're talking about, but it will help them. And I'd appreciate if you could do that. Also, all podcast platforms these days have some sort of algorithm. So the more you interact with this episode, the better it's going to perform and help reach more people and help them find their true form as well. So 5-star review, positive comment, like, share, comment, however you can interact with the episode. I'd appreciate that, and everybody listening that hasn't heard of the True Form podcast is going to appreciate it as well.